point is about the Germans, they're beatable. I actually think the problem today was Kai Havertz. And that's not me being shameless. In these games with the Swiss are physical and stuff like this, he doesn't cut it. This is why Arsenal needs a second option. He was trying to connect the play, pass the ball around, and he completed his passes. But he isn't that guy that can battle in the 18 like Fulkrich. Fulkrich literally was just battling in the 18. This is why you need someone like him. Just Kai Havertz didn't cut it. He was not great. And if you are the focal point, you also need to be involved in the forward plays, and he wasn't. And just Arsenal fans think it's an agenda, as Hussam said. It's not. If you want, because I was focused on the German game, it's definitely not. It wasn't like it's not. That's not his game. Which is, by the way, Arsenal face a lot of these games when teams just sit back. When Switzerland got the goal, they just sat back for the rest of the game. That's why you need another option. He's not that guy. And it's just simple as that. And he's not like that guy that will battle it. And this is it. To be honest, Germany look beatable. They don't have the firepower. Like Musiala by himself tried to dribble the whole Swiss team. And at some point, they stopped him. You know what I mean? They stopped. You cannot dribble 5-6 guys. Gundogan was non-existent in the game. Completely non-existent. Switzerland nullified him completely. And that's why Germans are beatable. The Germans are beatable. But I still think they're going to make the semi-final at least. Because they're gonna play most likely Denmark. I did the predictor thing. They're gonna play Denmark. They might reach the semi-final, and it's to be honest, it's everybody's tournament, everyone's tournament. Germany, formidable again today. Defense is suspect. Lost the chances. That goal they scored, the Switzerland, they could have killed the game by like just centimeters offside.
I'm with Mo. I was shamelessly smiling when that goal went in. I was like, yeah. And like, I know, Terry, you said you don't know if before we come on, you said you don't know if Germany maybe were thinking, but they had to get a point in the game. Like, they couldn't actually just dilly-dally in the game, because they lose, they go second in the group, and then they might have a tougher run. You don't want to finish second in your group, you know? So for me, they should have, I just think they were wasteful. I just think Havertz was poor. I can't defend him. I thought he was some of the chances he had, the header that hit his shoulder, he's got to be connecting with that, probably getting a goal. But I do think that, like, it's easy to always dagger on to Havertz. I think Gundogan was poor in the game. I thought that the left back for Germany was poor. I think Tar had a poor game. Like, I think there was a lot of like uneasiness about the German team today. I don't know if they like. I think that Switzerland, for me, just set up perfectly. And they've now shown everyone in the tournament how you got to set up against Germany. And I think I'll go on to the Scotland game in a minute, but these teams like Switzerland and that, they're posing a threat. And I think they are a dark horse. I think that Sam was right. I think that they could actually go far.
You just had to defend Havertz, even though he was crap today. You just had to get
no. I didn't. No. Listen, I said he was poor. I said he was poor.
The whole German team was in Tier 1.
As I was saying,
Germany at their best had Miroslav Klose up top, who's a target man striker.
But I think they were. I just don't think they were really clinical at all in the final third,
because the forward is not clinical.
That's one person though. Which if you know every like, I'm not. By the way, you don't twist it. You two, you see these two. Yeah,
it's like
they're trying to twist it to say like I'm saying that Havertz was not bad. Havertz was.
No, but don't do that. Don't say the whole. You see these two. We're not saying anything crazy. We're just saying Fulkrug is scoring goals. Target man strikers are the shit now.
You know, like England come in, Giuseppe, like England come in and say, but Harry Kane was not clinical, and then some English fans say the whole team was not clinical. He's the freaking forward. He's the guy that is tasked to score 100%.
And listen, for me, he gets dropped in the next game.
Plus, you're Italian anyway, Giuseppe. So why do you care?
Why do I care? Listen, I care. I was happy that they scored, man. I was cheering. That's why I want him to.
You have to throw Arsenal out the window. You're English Italian now. You have two nations. Yeah. Allow Arsenal, man. Allow Arsenal.
Do you know what? I wanted them to come second in the end, because I wanted that big game in the next knockout phase, if that makes sense. Because again, I was thinking about that from an English perspective. Even though we haven't been good enough to win it yet, I still like, just like when I always talk about this when it comes to the cup competitions, you kind of want the bigger teams drawing each other, so it guarantees one of them is out, and it makes it ever so slightly easier to maybe win. But I think you're right about Switzerland, that they sit in, they're resolute, they know how to nullify teams, and they can hurt you on that kind of counter attack as well. And look, Germany are some people's favorites, and they really took it to them. They were a hair's breadth away from going 2-1 up. 2-0 up, which would have taken the game away from them. It would have been crazy.
By the way, Terry,
Terry,
man of the match twice. Shaka, man of the match.
Terry, you want the big game, so do you want England?
Today, Shaka was man of the match, by the way.
Well, no, I said I want the big games, so my team doesn't have to play as many. It's very biased. Like, I don't want to get those. But having said that, look, we've been so. Everything can change in one game at a tournament. If we do make changes to our system, and we play well and score goals and look good, suddenly the excitement will creep in as well. Look at everybody was slagging off Portugal game 1. They changed it up in the next match and probably put in the most comfortable one-way performance in the tournament against another good team. I know Germany did to Scotland, but we saw tonight what Scotland are all about without any disrespect being handed out to them. A super chat here from Joshua says, first, we finally got the last thing we haven't had at a tournament, a late winner. This is true. But on Scotland, just like in qualifying, they had to rely on Scott's goals. If you think about that honestly. And it is true. If you're relying on Scott McTominay to be your match winner, and I'm not dissing Scott, he did so brilliantly well in the qualifying. Yeah. But if you're relying on him, and do you know what? I didn't think Robertson was good tonight. There's a time where Scotty Mac passing the ball, he had an awful touch, which gave it to Hungary for a counter-attack. And he was screaming at Scott McTominay for passing it to him. It's like, brother, you were running and asking for the ball. It was just your bad touch. But I was actually really disappointed with John McGinn. I thought John McGinn was so poor. Yeah. He is genuinely quality on the ball. And I thought he was absolutely anonymous tonight.
Scotland Hotspur. That's what we're calling them.
If England played the same system, by the way, they still can play Germany if they don't win their last game, by the way.
Yes. You know, we can.
People assume that England will top the group regardless. No, England need to win.
Who was their last game? Slovenia?
Slovenia, who has 3 points.
I think England win that, though. I think we win that.
After what you saw.
That will be a dreadful watch as well. I think Slovenia are most likely going to park the bus.
He's got to make changes. He will make changes. I pray.
By the way, Slovenia need a point to go through.
Name your bet that he won't make a change right now.
But I think a point gets us top.
No. If Denmark win, you get second. Denmark plays Serbia. So if Denmark win and England draw, Denmark any score line, but any score line, like it doesn't matter what Denmark 3-2, 2-1.
It depends. Okay, so I just want to go. So we're on 4 points. They're on 2 points. If they win, they'll be on 5. If we draw, we'll also be on 5. But then obviously the head-to-head was a draw between us. Then it goes on goal difference, which would also be 1, and then it would go to goals scored. So it depends. If they were to win by say they won 3-0 and we drew, then they would go ahead of us. But if they were to win say 1-0 and we drew 1-1,
yes,
then I don't even know what happens, because then it would probably go down to goals conceded.
Yellow cards. You'll all be the same.
Go yellow cards. Cool. So look, we could end up second. We've just got to win. We've got to win. And hope Serbia. And this is what's hard though, because I kind of want Denmark to do well, because I want Rasmus to score some goals. But maybe now I don't, because my team is so bad at the minute. My confidence is low. Dio, what did you make? What games were you watching tonight? Were you watching both, or did you focus on one in particular?
I focused on the Germany game, but I was just trying to catch like highlights of the Scotland game. I knew like they had this long period during the Varga time, the injury. So, thoughts and prayers to him. Hopefully he gets out of this and everything is okay with him. But this Germany game, I think Germany just played in gear 1 throughout the whole game. They looked slow. They looked totally slow with the ball moving forward. The whole team just looked piss poor to me. The whole German team just looked totally piss poor. But something that I wanted to point out, the first goal that Germany scored, where Musiala committed that foul before the goal was scored, before the ball came back and that goal was scored. If that goal was not chucked off the board, I think it would have changed the dynamics of the game. I think the Swiss would have decided to actually come out a lot more, because initially they were playing the mid block, the Swiss, and they're playing counter attack. They're playing the mid block and then they'll counter. They'll play mid block, they'll counter. If that goal had counted, if Musiala did not act stupid because and commit that foul, I think that would have happened. I think the game would have changed. I think the dynamics would have changed. But having said that, I mean, we saw what they did. They played really poorly. But I also wanted to point out another point where there was a penalty that I thought Germany deserved to get a penalty. Now, I'm not supporting Germany, but that to me was a penalty. He had his hand around him and he pulled him down in the 18-yard box. That was a clear penalty. Of course, VAR did their thing and they said it's not. I guess according to the new rule now is you can pull players down with your hands around them from behind and it's not a penalty. I guess that's the new rule. So, and then the final thing I wanted, I mean, there's nothing else to say about this. It's like now we know that any team is beatable, right? But whenever Germany plays against Switzerland and we come here and then everybody wants to talk about Arsenal because Kai Havertz plays for Germany. You guys should give it a chill pill and leave Arsenal out of it. The German team today have just showed their weakness. I agree with
I knew it. I was waiting.
I agree with Hossam that maybe they need to change. Yeah, and Gundogan should be dropped. He had a piss poor game. They should drop Florian Wirtz. They should drop Musiala. He had a piss poor game. Kimmich had a piss poor game. They should drop him too in the next game. I think they should just drop like all those 5 major players, Kai Havertz inclusive, who had a piss poor game. If they drop all 5 or 6 of them next game, maybe then they'll do better. Because obviously, a winning team, you don't change it. They had a bad game today. That's all it was.
Cedric here, though, says nobody is giving the Swiss their flowers. Germany will pour because the Swiss made it happen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm like. The Germans were really poor, and the Swiss did not. And that's why I said at the beginning, the Swiss were playing a mid block and counter attacking. Like this,
we all give them credit, by the way. I call them dark horse.
Yeah, the Swiss were playing a solid mid block. I mean, they never sat deep, and they pressed. The Swiss pressed. They won every second ball. Go look at. I mean, Germany had more possession, but in challenges, the Swiss won every second ball. Literally. Like most German players just look like I'm going to run and I'm just going to slow down. Like there was no. I was with, and for me when that first goal went in from Germany, I thought, of course, the goal was chalked up. I just thought, okay, from here they're going to kick off now. Now that you scored a goal, you're going to feel like, all right, let's go. Because they looked really slow from the very start of the game. So, I mean, the Swiss did very well. I'm glad they're also going to qualify, and we'll see what happens in the second round, in the round of 16.
Ironically, with Havertz up top, but watching Germany today was frustrating. It actually reminded me a little bit of Arsenal when we're having a poor game. The way they were, it actually did. Though I know you said about the goal if it was chalked off, but if my mum had wheels, should be a bike, mate. It was chalked off. It doesn't matter if that went in.
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. Say it correctly.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like everybody's talked about how well the Swiss played, and they scored a second goal that was slightly offside. I mean, that was like an inch blade of grass. Like that offside was like, come on, and even the goal that Germany scored. All the Swiss had to do was just play them offside. But no, Akanji played him onside. He just needed to step up. Akanji just needed to step up. And folks would have been offside. But he didn't. He played him onside. And that's how they equalized. So, it's the fine margins that count. So if we're looking at players and saying, look, Havertz missed half chances. Gundogan missed a chance. Clear one in front of him. Musiala tried to do a Messi and dribble 6 players and failed. And turned around and had to pass it all the way back. You can pick on each person's individual mistakes. And even on the Swiss side, the goal that they conceded, all they needed to do was step forward. That's all Akanji needed to do. Step forward. And it would have been offside. That goal would have been chalked off. And they would have won. So it was good to see. Well, to be honest, it was good to see them really step up in the game. I think there's quite a bit of Bayer Leverkusen players and Bologna players on the Swiss team, and that mix of players, those two teams coming from their leagues, how they did last season, you can see why those teams did well. You can actually see why they did well with the way these guys are playing today. So yeah, so kudos to them.
Havertz as well. I think Havertz has been very disappointing in this tournament. He looked good in the first game, but I think he's been disappointed.
Old man about Havertz. Told you guys about Havertz. That guy is so overrated.
You can take international with a pinch of salt. I always say that with players. I don't overrate or underrate players like in the international.
I'd rather sign for your team.
But yeah,
look, I think it's. I don't know. It's we all do this with players. I've been noticing this, and I'm not having a pop at you directly, Sam. I was looking at socials quite a bit over this tournament because it's kind of highlighted it because the football's so intense. It's been 3 matches a day, up until today where it was 2. And you sort of there's certain people whose Twitter I follow. I don't really interact with them, but I love looking at what they say. They all have agendas against different players, and if their player they dislike has had a bad game and gets subbed off, told you he's a bad player, underperformed, subbed off.
This guy,
but
he's on the stream, Terry.
Yeah, but if they're, I wouldn't actually talk about Hamza. I don't look at Hamza for that stuff. But then the other way around, right? If it's a player they like and they had a bad game, silence. Or if it's a player they dislike and they had a good game, silence. And I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm getting bored of it. I just sort of look at it and I'm like, I was thinking about this today, right? I was out riding my bike. I had a sauna suit on. It's boiling hot here today. And I'm riding my bike, trying to get fit, trying to get healthy, sweating. And I'm like, I'm doing this to keep healthy. And I'm like, do you know what I got to let go of? Like petty arguments. I feel like people that just run agendas all the time online, I honestly think it's going to start putting people in early graves, legitimately, because it has to be, whether you say it isn't or not. I don't believe anyone who runs full on agendas. And I'm not talking about people that just tweet. I'm talking about men that show their face, right? Because there's pressure when you show your face. It's very easy to sit behind a fake name and a fake picture and write whatever you want because there's no accountability for it. I honestly feel like people that run these agendas, the stress they must go through, because when they go on about something so much and then the opposite happens, which will happen all the time because football's too hard to predict. It isn't clockwork. I just honestly think people are going to end up in early graves. It feels like too much energy wasted on players that you dislike. It's strange to me now. It's gone beyond what you.
You're really describing Hamza.
Let Hamza talk. Everything you just said applies to Hamza.
Bro, you're really describing Hamza.
This guy defended KDB, defended Phil Foden, and attacked Trent.
All I hear is
Hamza never hides. Always showing his face. Always on spaces. Always on shows. Always shows his face to Football Terrace on Hussam's channel. Everyone, like, he runs his agenda with the face on. You know what I mean?
Well, can I defend Hamza? I'm going to defend Hamza, though. Do you know why? I think Hamza's not going to run himself into an early grave. I'll tell you as to why. Because when he's proven wrong, he just smiles and gets on with it. And you can tell it's a genuine bona fide smile. Some of the others that do it, when they get it wrong, you see you see the frown line, you see the stress, you see the shoulders, and that is going to kill you. And the fact that it's over football, I love football. It's an amazing part of the culture of my country. I love the fact that I sit here with you brilliant gentlemen from all different parts of the world. You know what I mean? With, America, Jordan, Egyptians here. We've got half Italian, half Englishman on here. Hamza, who's just literally supported 37 different clubs in his life, and I love it. But you can tell those people where they're just, you see them really frustrated when it goes wrong, and I'm like, bruv, you man have got to chill. But I've just seen a lot of it in this tournament, more than I've ever seen before, and I'm just like, okay, a player you dislike did well, get over it. A player you dislike did badly, it's strange.